Are you looking for the best cameras for surf photography? In this video, we will look at some of the 5 best cameras on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description, so make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. Canon EOS Rebel T6i. I am going to start this list with an entry-level model coming in from Canon, the EOS Rebel T6i. While this camera is replaced by the T7i, I know it is still a great model for those that are just starting and want something that will ease them into the world of photography, while not sacrificing image quality and performance. Let's check it out. The Canon EOS Rebel T6i is packed with a nice 24.2 MP APS-C-sized CMOS sensor that has delivered some excellent images. It also has the trusted Digic 6 image processing engine that delivers a good performance. I should state that this camera has simple controls that will teach you photography, and the body itself is pretty light. The autofocus system is pretty good, as well as it uses the then new hybrid CMOS AF3 focus system that worked in live view as well. It has 19 focus points, of which all are accurate cross-type points. It is pretty sensitive as well, and the burst shooting speed of this camera is a modest yet adequate 5 frames per second. Number 2. Sony Alpha A6000. Coming up next, we have one of the most underrated cameras in the market that delivers great performance for those that look to get the most for their money, the Sony Alpha A6000. This camera was released as the successor of the NEX6, but it has achieved so much more than it. A big fan of this mirrorless beast. Let's start by stating that this camera has a nice APS-C-sized 24.3 MP CMOS sensor that works rather well in tandem with the Bionz X image processor. The image quality and detail resolution are perfect overall. Also, the camera is pretty light even for a mirrorless model, and it has a great lens range you can choose from. One of the biggest selling points of the Sony Alpha A6000 is that it has a hybrid autofocus system that utilizes 25 contrast detect and 179 phase detect points to deliver unmatched speed and accuracy at its price point. On top of all that, this camera can shoot 11 frames per second in continuous shooting mode, with subject tracking activated. Marvelous! Number 3. Sony Alpha A9 II. Next up, we have a super high-end model coming from Sony again, the Alpha A9 II. This camera might be very expensive and very complicated to use, but there is nothing quite like it in the mirrorless market for professionals. It delivers a speedy performance both in burst shooting and autofocus performance. Also, the sensor is unmatched. Speaking of which, it is a 24.2 MP full-frame XMR RS back illuminated CMOS sensor that is one of the best in the market. The image processing engine is the brand new Bionz X. This beast will deliver you perfect images regardless of the conditions. I should mention that it has plenty of controls that will take you a little time to get used to. The Sony Alpha A9 II is packed with a hybrid autofocus system that uses both contrast detect and phase detect points that result in 693 focus points in total that track subjects in real time. On top of all this, the Sony Alpha A9 II can shoot 20 frames per second in continuous drive mode, pretty much perfect overall. Number 4. Canon EOS 1DX Mark II. If you are a professional photographer that still can't trust these new mirrorless systems, you should probably check out the Canon EOS 1DX Mark II. This is the flagship Canon DSLR that has been used for a long time now, and it is going to be around for even longer. This camera can do it all: quality, speed and durability, you name it, the 1DX has it. Let's start by talking about the 20.2 MP CMOS full-frame sensor of the Canon EOS 1DX Mark II that is packed with the dual-pixel autofocus system. This camera also has the super powerful dual Digic 6 Plus image processing engine that does its job to perfection. Well, this camera is a bit heavy and has some complicated controls, but nothing a pro can't handle. The biggest selling point of the Canon EOS 1DX Mark II is that it uses the dual-pixel 61-point autofocus system with 41 cross-type points and 5 dual cross-type points that are super accurate. On top of that, it has the new AI Servo AF3 Plus system to help things out. In the end, I want to mention that this camera has a continuous drive speed of 16 frames per second. Number 5. Sony Alpha A6500. On top of the list, we have the camera that delivers a perfect performance for surf photography, while still keeping a competitive price, the Sony Alpha A6500. This is one of my favorite cameras since it delivers everything that the big boys do without asking for the same price, speed, quality, and creative prowess. The Sony Alpha A6500 is packed with a 24.2 MP APS-C-sized CMOS sensor that delivers great images with the improved image processing engine. I should also mention that this camera has a 5-axis in-body image stabilization system that works pretty well. The controls are plenty and you can find everything you need on the fly. One of the most impressive things about the Sony Alpha A6500 is that it has an autofocus system with 425 phase detect and 169 contrast detect points that are pretty speedy overall. The 4D focus system technology pays off here. Also, without forgetting, I have to mention that this beast can shoot 11 frames per second in the continuous drive mode.